Right now, in late 2025, you can still buy a proper Porsche for under 50 grand. A real, usable, appreciating Porsche that you can drive and enjoy while it gains value. But this opportunity won't last. The market is tightening fast. I've spent months digging, and what I found are 5 specific Porsches that check every box. Let's get into it. Number 5 is the 1992 to 1995 Porsche 968 Coupe with the 6-speed manual. This is Porsche's final transaxle car, and it's massively undervalued right now. When you narrow it down to North American manual coupes, you're looking at roughly 1,811 cars. For perspective, that's fewer than the number of Ford GTs ever made. What makes the 968 special is its engine. It has a 3.0-liter 4-cylinder that makes about 236 horsepower. But it's the torque that really stands out. Porsche gave it something called VarioCam, which was advanced timing tech for the early 90s. This thing pulls hard from low revs. Combined with the 6-speed manual, this car feels modern even today. It's genuinely usable as a grand touring car. Decent trunk space, comfortable seats, air conditioning that actually works. You could drive this cross-country tomorrow, but from the driver's seat, it still has that analog, connected feel that newer cars just don't deliver. Right now, you can find driver-quality 968 coupes in the low to mid-30s on classic.com. Some really nice examples push into the 40s, but plenty of solid cars are well under our 50 grand limit. Now, here's where you need to be picky. You want the manual transmission, not the Tiptronic automatic. Automatics just don't hold value like manuals do, especially in Porsches. Look for the M030 sport suspension and the M220 limited slip differential if you can find them. These options make the car way more fun to drive, and they add value. The big maintenance items on a 968 are the timing belt and water pump. These need to be done around every 60,000 miles, though many specialists also look at the calendar and recommend doing it every 5 or 6 years regardless of mileage. There's also a cam chain between the two camshafts, and the plastic tensioner pads can wear out. If those fail, you're looking at expensive top-end damage. So, when you're shopping, ask for proof that the belt, pump, and cam chain components have been inspected or replaced. No documentation? Walk away or knock 5 grand off the asking price. Why would this car pop by 2030? Simple. Scarcity. Low production numbers, last of the transaxle line, and it's one of the best driving front-engine Porsches ever made. As 80s and 90s Porsches keep climbing in value, the 968 is next in line. Remember when 911 SCs were 15 grand? Yeah, those days are gone. The 968 is having its moment next. Number 4 is the 1986 to 1989 Porsche 944 Turbo, also known internally as the 951. This is your Miami Vice era Porsche, and it still delivers. This is the car that brings serious 1980s performance while still being practical enough to use every day. The 944 Turbo started with 217 horsepower, but in 1988, Porsche released the Turbo S with 247 horsepower. Those upgrades became standard for the 1989 model year. For its time, this was a genuinely fast car. It came with upgraded suspension and brakes to match the power. You could take this thing to the track on Saturday and drive to work on Monday. Porsche built around 25,000 of these out of roughly 163,000 total 944s produced. The 1988 Turbo S run was only around 1,635 units, making it legitimately rare. What's wild is how cheap these still are. Classic.com shows an average price around 28 grand. Nice driver quality examples sell in the 30s and 40s. You're getting usable classic car performance for the price of a decent used truck. Think about that for a second. But maintenance history is everything with these cars. The timing belt and balance shaft belts are critical. The current guidance from the Porsche Club of America says these belts should be changed every 30,000 miles or 10 years, whichever comes first. A lot of specialists will also retension the belt after the first few hundred miles of driving. If a seller can't show you documentation of when the belts were last done, that's a massive red flag. And I mean massive. These are interference engines. If the belt snaps, you're looking at a full engine rebuild. You also want to check the water pump, which is usually done at the same time as the belts. There are other age-related things to watch for. The fuel lines in the engine bay run near heat sources, and over time they can deteriorate. Upgrading to modern fuel lines is cheap insurance. The turbocharger itself needs to be healthy, so pay attention to how the car idles, whether there's smoke on startup or when you lift off the throttle, and how the boost feels under acceleration. If you're looking at options, the M030 Sport Suspension and M220 Limited Slip Diff are what you want. They transform how the car drives. The 944 Turbo is interesting because it's still flying under the radar. It's one of the biggest value gaps left in 1980s European performance cars. As values for other 80s icons keep climbing out of reach, younger collectors are starting to pay attention to these. And by younger, I mean people our age who grew up with these cars on their bedroom walls. The car has real performance. It's practical with a hatchback and decent interior space, and it looks fantastic. Just remember, buy the best example you can afford. A 10 grand discount disappears fast when you need to do belts, water pump, clutch, and suspension work all at once. Trust me on this. Number 3 is the 1999 to 2004 Porsche 911 Carrera, specifically the 996 generation. For years, people treated this like the problem child of the 911 family. That narrative is changing fast. This is the first water-cooled 911, and it's now the most affordable way to get into a real 911. It's also the lightest modern 911 you can actually buy. That matters a lot when you're driving it. The early cars from 1999 to 2001 had a 3.4-liter engine making around 296 horsepower. In 2002, Porsche did a facelift and bumped the engine to 3.6 liters, with about 320 horsepower. They also updated the headlights and interior. Most people prefer these later 996.2 cars. Classic.com shows an average around 31 grand for a manual coupe, with tons of examples across the country well below our budget. Now, let's talk about the IMS bearing. You've probably heard about it. The intermediate shaft bearing in these M96 engines can fail, and when it does, it destroys the engine. Sounds scary, but the actual failure rate is in the single digits according to most sources. Single digits? It's a known issue, not a death sentence. There are 2 smart ways to handle this. 1. Buy a car that already has the IMS bearing upgraded. LN Engineering makes an oil-fed solution that's considered the gold standard fix. 2. Buy a car with an engine number outside the most problematic ranges and budget to do the retrofit yourself when you eventually need to replace the clutch anyway. Problem solved. Either way, you absolutely need a pre-purchase inspection from a shop that knows these cars. They should do a bore scope inspection, compression and leak down tests, and check for rear main seal and air oil separator issues. They should also pull the data from the DME, which is Porsche's engine computer, and check for over-rev events. If the seller won't let you do a proper inspection, just walk away. There are plenty of 996s out there. Don't gamble on this. What you get with a 996 is a real 911 with proper rear engine, rear-wheel drive dynamics, and genuine motorsport DNA. It's smaller and more compact than today's 992 generation, which a lot of people actually prefer. The steering is hydraulic, not electric. The whole car feels more connected and analog than anything Porsche sells now. You want the 6-speed manual, not the Tiptronic automatic. Manuals hold value better, and they're way more fun to drive. No contest. Why will the 996 appreciate? Because it's getting pulled up by the market. The 993 and 964 generations have already gone crazy expensive. Good luck finding a clean 993 under 6 figures now. The 997 generation is climbing fast, with most manual cars now pushing past 50 grand. That makes the 996 the last affordable 911 with the classic compact size and driving feel. As more people figure out that the IMS issue is manageable, clean, documented 996s are going to get expensive. The smart money is buying now while you still can. At number 2, we have the 2009 to 2012 Boxster S, specifically the 987.2 generation. Almost nobody talks about this car, and that's criminal because it might be the best value in this entire list. The 2009 refresh brought huge changes. Porsche gave it a brand new 3.4-liter engine with direct fuel injection, making about 310 horsepower. More importantly, this new engine completely eliminated the intermediate shaft. No IMS bearing, no IMS problems. That takes the biggest worry off the table. Gone. This engine is part of Porsche's MA1 family, the same basic architecture that went into the 981 Cayman and Boxster that came later. It's reliable, powerful, and it sounds fantastic. You could get it with either the 6-speed manual or Porsche's 7-speed PDK dual-clutch transmission, but you want the manual for maximum driving enjoyment and resale value. The 987.2 also kept the hydraulic steering that newer cars lost, so the steering feel is pure and direct. You know exactly what the front wheels are doing. Right now, Classic.com shows typical sale prices for these in the low 30s for manuals. Even special editions often sell in the 30s to 40s. That's shockingly cheap for what you're getting. This is a mid-engine, naturally aspirated flat-six Porsche Roadster with 310 horsepower, modern reliability, and no major known issues. You can't build a car like this anymore. Not at any price. It's also incredibly fun to drive at normal speeds. You don't need to be doing triple-digit speeds to enjoy this car, which is perfect for back roads and weekend drives. When you're shopping, look for cars with Sport Chrono. If you can find a car with Porsche torque vectoring and the mechanical limited slip diff, that's even better, though it's rare on the 987.2. Service history is important, but the good news is these cars don't have the scary failure modes of older Porsches. Water pumps, ignition coils, brakes, and tires are normal wear items. The big service is at 60,000 miles or 6 years, which includes the belt and spark plugs. A convertible top that's scratched or slow to operate can be a negotiating point, but it's fixable and not that expensive. The reason the 987.2 could explode in value comes down to recognition. Right now, it's living in the shadow of the 981 generation that came after it. But it has basically the same engine, the same great chassis, and it's way cheaper. As 981 prices firm up, people are going to realize the 987.2S is the bargain of the century. It's the most affordable, naturally aspirated flat-six Porsche Roadster with no IMS issues. Buy a clean manual with good service records before everyone else figures this out. And finally, we have the 2013 to 2016 Porsche Cayman, specifically the base model 981 generation with the 6-speed manual. This is the car with the strongest case for appreciation, and the reason is simple. It's the last naturally aspirated mid-engine flat-six coupe that Porsche will ever make. Ever. Porsche has confirmed that the future sports car in the 718 segment is going to be battery electric. Throughout 2024 and 2025, reports indicated that production of the current gas-powered 718 was winding down. That means the 981 generation is the end of an era. The last of anything tends to become valuable, especially when it's also genuinely excellent to drive. And the 981 Cayman is outstanding. When it came out, reviewers called it one of the best handling sports cars at any price. That wasn't hype, it's really that good. The base 981 Cayman uses a 2.7-liter flat-six, making 275 horsepower. The Cayman S gets a 3.4-liter with 325 horsepower. Both engines are from Porsche's MA1 family, which means no IMS bearing and very few reported issues. The car is lighter and stiffer than the previous 987 generation, and the chassis balance is nearly perfect. You can get either the 6-speed manual or the PDK dual clutch. But manuals are what you want for value retention and driving fun. There's no comparison. Right now, classic.com shows base 981 Caymans averaging around 39 to 40 grand, with a wide range depending on mileage and options. Plenty of clean manual cars are safely under 50 grand. The Cayman S averages just above 50, but high mileage or less desirable colors sometimes dip into the high 40s. If you can stretch your budget, the S is the performance sweet spot, but the base car is absolutely the value play, and it's still a phenomenal driver. You won't feel shortchanged. When you're shopping for a 981, there are a few things to look for. The big one is Porsche torque vectoring with the mechanical limited slip diff. On manual cars, this was bundled as option code M220, and it's rare but incredibly desirable. It makes a real difference in how the car drives, especially when you're pushing hard. Check the build sheet or the original option sticker to verify it's there. Other nice options include Sport Chrono, which adds launch control and that great sounding exhaust button, PASM active suspension, and 20-inch wheels. But some purists actually prefer simpler, lighter specs without all the gadgets. Both approaches work. The good news is the 981 doesn't have major known issues. The MA1 engine is solid, and bore scoring concerns that affected earlier engines are basically non-existent here. The most common complaints are infotainment glitches and occasional issues with the convertible top mechanism on Boxsters. But the coupe doesn't have that problem. Electronics and normal wear items like brakes and tires are your main concerns. Porsche's maintenance schedule calls for spark plugs every 40,000 miles or 4 years, the drive belt at 60,000 miles or 6 years, and brake fluid every 2 years. Budget a few hundred to over $1,000 for routine services, depending on whether you use an independent shop or the dealer. The case for the 981 appreciating is rock solid. It's the last of its kind. The gas-powered 718 is going away. Collectors love last of stories, and it's genuinely one of the best sports cars ever made. If you buy a clean manual in a good color with desirable options like PTV, you're holding a car that's both special to drive and structurally scarce going forward. The supply is finite, and as the new electric 718 arrives, more people are going to want the last gas version. Add in the fact that manuals are disappearing from new cars in general, and you have a perfect storm for appreciation. All the pieces are in place. The risk with any of these cars is overpaying for a weak example or skipping the maintenance. If you buy a high-mileage 981 with thin options and deferred maintenance, your upside is going to be limited. Buy the best car you can afford, keep the documentation thorough, and maintain it properly. That's the winning formula. All 5 of these Porsches are still affordable today, but they won't stay that way. They're all naturally aspirated, they're all manual, they're all genuinely fun to drive, and they all have specific reasons why their values should climb over the next 5 years. Buy smart, maintain properly, and enjoy the drive.